Right now, as you read these words, something is happening above your head, silently, invisibly, and unlike anything modern science has ever prepared for. Not a meteor, not a comet, not a solar flare. Something far stranger. Something that, according to multiple NASA analysts I've spoken with, should not be possible under the known laws of physics. And yet, it happened. For the first time in recorded history, Earth's magnetic field, the gigantic, ancient shield that has protected life for billions of years, twitched, not drifted, not fluctuated, not trembled the way it normally does during a solar storm. It jerked, a sudden, violent movement that lasted just seconds, but was so powerful, so sharply defined, that magnetometers from Antarctica to Greenland lit up like a global earthquake. But in the air, a shock wave, a magnetic pulse, a signature. And the strangest part? No solar flares, no coronal mass ejections. The sun was calm, asleep, practically purring like a quiet cat in the darkness. Space should have been peaceful. And yet, Earth's magnetic skeleton rang, as if something massive had brushed its fingertips across it. NASA quietly labeled the event Transient Equatorial Disturbance 47b. Harvard astronomers call it the Atlas Pulse. But here is the part they are not ready to admit publicly. The magnetic disturbance happened less than 36 hours after an interstellar object, designated 3I/Atlas, crossed the plane of Earth's orbit. That timing is not random. It is not ordinary. It is not coincidental, no matter how many scientists try to soften the truth. For decades, our models of interstellar visitors have assumed one thing. They behave like rocks. Cold, dead, simple, predictable. But 3I/Atlas is not simple. Its path is too perfect. Its composition too metallic. Its rotation too smooth. Its brightness too controlled. Its temperature too high. And now its effect, if we dare call it that, too specific. Because when a comet approaches the sun, radiation tears it apart, melts it, vaporizes its surface. But when Atlas reached perihelion, it grew brighter, hotter, and more symmetrical. That does not happen with ice. That does not happen with dust. That does not happen with natural objects. Unless, and this is what NASA scientists are whispering in private rooms, it is not a rock at all. Maybe it is a machine, a probe, a magnetic organism, a piece of technology designed to endure and feed on stellar radiation rather than crumble under it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand why Atlas is terrifying, we need to understand the one thing your phone, your GPS, migrating birds, satellites, airplanes, and the very atmosphere depend on. The magnetic field. Earth's field is not a decoration. It is the difference between life and extinction, between oceans and vacuum, between a blue planet and a dead one. And 3 days ago, something touched it. The magnetic heartbeat of Earth. Imagine Earth as a giant engine. Deep inside, molten iron spins and churns like a slow, burning hurricane. That internal dance generates the magnetic field, a protective force that wraps the planet like a shimmering bubble. It stops radiation from frying us. It guides migratory animals. It stabilizes our technology. It holds the atmosphere in place. And for millions of years, it has been mostly predictable. But not this week. This week, something pressed against it. The pulse measured at NASA's Palmer Station in Antarctica showed a spike so sharp, so unnatural, that the lead researcher wrote in the log, resembles harmonic interference, not geophysical drift. Harmonic interference, not natural drift, not solar noise. Harmonic, as in resonance, as in two frequencies aligning, as in communication, as in a signal, the first hint of intelligence. If you're an advanced civilization, millions of years older than us, capable of traveling between star systems, you would not waste energy with bright lights, radio beams, or clumsy attempts at communication. You would use the one thing planets already respond to. Magnetism. A subtle nudge to the magnetic field can reveal the composition of the core, the density of the mantle, the electrical conductivity of the crust, the existence of oceans, the presence of life, even biological patterns. To an advanced intelligence, a magnetic field is a planetary fingerprint. A signature, a passport. If you want to study a world without revealing your position, you probe its magnetic skeleton from a distance, without touching the atmosphere, without announcing yourself, silently, elegantly, efficiently. And that is why the timing of the Atlas pulse matters. Because when Atlas crossed Earth's orbital plane, NASA's Deep Space Network recorded a faint oscillation, a rhythmic flicker with a 41-minute period, a pulse, a heartbeat, a broadcast. Call what you want. But natural objects do not emit perfectly timed oscillations that persist for hours and then vanish exactly when they pass the sun. Not unless they were designed to. And now, the entire scientific world is scrambling. Not publicly. Publicly, they mumble about unusual activity, unexpected brightness, and further study required. But behind closed doors, where silence is enforced and careers are destroyed for talking too much, scientists are asking the question they fear. What if Atlas is not alone? Because interstellar probes, if they exist, do not travel one at a time. They travel in fleets, in sequences, in patterns, like seeds drifting through the galaxy. And Earth is simply one stop on a journey far older than humanity itself. The twist that should not exist. Let me tell you something astonishing. The North Magnetic Pole moves. It drifts slowly, about 40 to 50 kilometers per year. A calm glide, a lazy wander. But the night Atlas passed the orbital plane, the pole did not glide. It jumped 30 meters in under an hour. That is impossible, not unlikely, not unusual, impossible, unless something exerted force on the field. Not physical force, magnetic force, a push, a pull, a handshake, a scan. Whatever it was, Earth responded. The atmosphere trembled. Radio waves distorted. Migratory birds in northern Canada turned south, then west, then north again, as if the map in their minds had been erased and redrawn in real time. Satellites reported momentary desynchronization. GPS clocks drifted by fractions of milliseconds. Tiny, but detectable. And auroras appeared in places no auroras have any business appearing. Hawaii, Sudan, Oman, equatorial auroras. A phenomenon considered physically implausible. Until now, the sky glowed red, green, purple, a shimmering fingerprint circling the equator. In a perfect pattern, one scientist at the University of Oslo described it as a magnetic spiral, rotating counter to Earth's spin, counter to Earth's rotation. Let that sink in. Something imposed its own rotation onto the field. Something outside. Something independent. Something not of this planet. And then, darkness. Silence. The field snapped back. Birds regained their sense of direction. Satellites stabilized. Radio noise dropped. Just a brief moment. A touch. A probe. A question. A test. But enough to shake the scientific community. Because Earth reacted as if it were not alone. So what is Atlas? A rock? Impossible. A comet? No. A fragment from another star? Maybe, if that star's physics differs radically from ours. Or, and this is what I want you to consider very carefully, Atlas is a messenger, a node, a probe, a drifting machine older than human civilization, powered by mechanisms so elegant, so efficient, so deeply integrated into the laws of physics, that we mistake them for natural anomalies until they touch our world. And when they do, our world moves, literally, because Earth's magnetic twist was not random, not chaotic, not noisy. It was structured. It carried symmetry. It carried a pulse. It carried intent. The blue signature. Hours after the magnetic twist, another anomaly surfaced. This time from the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, SOHO. Atlas did not dim as expected after passing perihelion. Instead, it glowed brighter, bluer, sharper, as if something inside it had awakened. Natural cometary bodies glow redder when heated. Dust reddens, ices redden, debris reddens. But Atlas turned blue, a wavelength associated with high-temperature plasmas, electrically charged jets. and controlled ionization. Controlled is the key word, because NASA's spectral analysis showed surprisingly regular energy peaks, repeating in 13.4-minute cycles. Not chaotic, not noisy, not comet-like at all. Something was modulating the emissions. Something was pulsing. Something was tuning the glow. And if you think that sounds like technology, you're beginning to understand the problem. Some astrophysicists argue it could be exotic chemistry. Others say unknown ices. Others propose quantum mineral structures. But those explanations fall apart when you look at the energy curve. Natural objects do not brighten and dim with perfect periodicity. Machines do. The Atlas drag. 2 days after the perihelion event, another strange thing happened. Atlas slowed down. Not enough for the public to notice. Not enough to make headlines. But just enough for the orbital models to become wrong. And not randomly wrong. Purposefully wrong. It was as if Atlas performed a microburn, a tiny maneuver, a correction, a stabilization. Natural objects do not alter their course in smooth, mathematically symmetric ways. They tumble, they drift, they fracture. But Atlas adjusted its orientation with the finesse of a spacecraft. It aligned itself, rotated, stabilized, and then drifted perfectly back into its original trajectory, as if nothing had happened, as if it wanted to hide the maneuver, as if it were maintaining an illusion. This was the moment several NASA analysts privately messaged each other the same sentence. It moved, not it drifted, not it reacted, not it broke apart. It moved, the silent hum, at the same time as the maneuver. 3 separate monitoring stations, one in Nunavut, one in Iceland, one aboard a Norwegian research vessel, recorded something chilling. A low-frequency magnetic hum, soft, pulsing, almost musical, and most disturbingly, identical at all 3 locations, with a phase shift matching Earth's curvature. This cannot happen through natural means. A magnetic hum synchronized across thousands of kilometers requires a single, unified source, and that source must be external. Several researchers noticed something even stranger. The hum stopped. At the exact second, Atlas crossed a predicted longitude line. This means the hum was tied to Atlas's position, almost like a sweep, a scan, a rotation, a sensor cycle. And what does a sensor cycle do? It maps things. It measures. It analyzes. It looks. The global effects. For the next 48 hours, global systems behaved strangely. 1. GPS desynchronization. Multiple satellites drifted out of sync by milliseconds. This is extremely rare. GPS clock drift is measured in nanoseconds. To drift by milliseconds requires one thing: a strong disturbance in Earth's electromagnetic envelope. Nothing on Earth caused it. Nothing from the sun caused it. Only one thing had changed: Atlas. 2. Migratory animals lost their path. Canadian geese flew in circles. Whales temporarily changed migration routes. Bees in northern Europe became disoriented. All these species navigate using Earth's magnetic field. And Earth's magnetic field was no longer behaving normally. It was reacting to something. More importantly, something was interacting with it. 3. Radio interference in a perfect pattern. Shortwave bands displayed an oscillation repeating every 41 minutes. Remember that number? It's the same periodicity detected earlier. This is not a coincidence. Patterns like this do not occur in nature. This is structure. This is a signal. The meeting NASA didn't want public. 3 days after the event, NASA held a closed meeting of 6 departments: Heliophysics Division, Planetary Defense Coordination Office, Goddard Space Flight Center, Deep Space Network, Harvard Smithsonian Astrophysics, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. No Liebestream, no press, no documents. Only one leaked sentence from a senior analyst. We need to consider non-natural explanations. The phrase non-natural is the most polite, carefully chosen, bureaucratically neutral way to say this might be artificial. And in scientific circles, artificial means one thing: technology. Technology means engineering. Engineering means design. Design means intent. Intent means intelligence. which leads to the most dangerous conclusion scientists never want to say out loud. We may not be alone. The network theory. Some scientists now believe Atlas may not be a random wanderer. It may be part of a network, a galactic mesh of magnetic probes drifting between star systems, exchanging information, communicating through resonance instead of radios. Magnetism is the perfect medium for ancient communication. It passes through dust. It ignores light interference. It works across enormous distances. It cannot easily be blocked. And every planet with a molten core emits a unique magnetic fingerprint. If you wanted to study thousands of worlds without revealing your presence, you would build probes like Atlas. Silent, cold, dormant until needed, activated by stellar radiation, powered by exotic energy sources, communicating through magnetic pulses. These would drift through galaxies for millions of years, never decaying, never needing maintenance, never stopping. Not scouts, not visitors, but listeners, recorders, sensors, archivists of magnetic data. And Earth just got scanned. The big question, why now? Why did the field twist now? Why did Atlas pulse now? Why did it activate on this cycle? One theory is terrifying. Earth has crossed a threshold. Our radio emissions, satellites, nuclear reactors, and technological signatures may have finally reached a detectable level. Maybe Atlas woke up because Earth became interesting. Too interesting. Another possibility is even more chilling. Atlas was not scanning Earth. It was signaling something else. The magnetic pulse that hit Earth could have bounced outward, like radar reflecting off a target. To what? To whom? We don't know. We may never know. But we do know this. As soon as the pulse hit Earth, a second, weaker magnetic ripple was detected, moving outward into space, as if riding on the shockwave Atlas produced. A reply, a handshake, a confirmation, a ping, the invisible mark left on Earth. After the incident, researchers identified a curious aftereffect. Earth's magnetic field did not return to its original alignment. It shifted, minutely, subtly, barely enough for the public to care, but enough for scientists to panic. The twist left a signature, a small, persistent asymmetry in the South Atlantic magnetic anomaly. It's almost like a fingerprint, not Earth's fingerprint, Atlas's. Something touched the field and left a mark, a pattern, a code, a residue of interaction. We don't know yet, but the anomaly is stable. It is measurable, and it should not exist, not unless something forced the field into a new configuration, something intelligent. And now, the approach. Atlas is now moving toward its closest pass to Earth. It will not collide. It will not threaten, but its proximity matters, because the closer it gets, the stronger its magnetic influence becomes. And NASA, ESA, JAXA, and CNSA have all quietly redirected telescopes toward it. Some satellites have been retasked. Some data centers have gone into enhanced monitoring mode. And the James Webb Telescope, the most powerful observatory ever built, has been given an emergency adjustment window for a direct spectral scan. Webb does not get emergency windows, not unless something unprecedented is happening, something historic, something humanity has never faced before. Atlas is coming closer, and scientists are not ready because they no longer know whether they are observing a rock or encountering intelligence. 3 days after the Atlas pulse, a message circulated quietly among mid-level NASA researchers. The subject line was simple. Anomaly 9 confirmed. Anomaly 9. If you're wondering what happened to anomalies 1 through 8, they were already known. Atlas had been breaking rules since the moment it entered the solar system. Too fast, too massive, too dry, too metallic, too stable, too symmetrical, too bright, too perfectly aligned with the ecliptic plane. Every comet, we know, behaves like a dirty ice ball tumbling through the void. Atlas behaved like a vehicle, a structure, a designed object. But Anomaly 9, that was something else entirely. Something that changed the tone of the entire investigation. Because Anomaly 9 was heat, not from the sun, not from chemical reactions, not from ice sublimation, but from within. Atlas appeared hotter than expected, not at its surface, not in the surrounding cloud, but from its core. This suggests one thing: an internal energy source. For a natural object, this is impossible. There are no nuclear reactions inside comets, no fusion cores, no electrical generators. But Atlas behaved like a machine powering up. The internal luminosity. The most shocking data came from ESA's solar orbiter. During perihelion, its spectrometer recorded a burst of radiation from Atlas, with a heat signature exceeding the surface of the Sun. Let that sink in. Hotter than the Sun. Not bigger, not brighter, but hotter per unit surface area. Natural comets freeze, boil, crack, explode. They do not emit controlled blue plasma hotter than a star. But Atlas did, and then, like someone dimming a flashlight, the heat curve dropped again, as if whatever internal machinery pulsed briefly, and then went quiet. NASA labeled the spike Thermal Event 9A. Unofficially, researchers call it the ignition, because that's exactly what it looked like. A power source turning on, the spiral around Earth. Remember the equatorial aurora? The one that stretched around the planet in a perfect spiral pattern? It turns out that spiral was not random. A European weather satellite captured a time-lapse sequence. Frame by frame, the spiral rotated at the same frequency as Atlas's earlier magnetic pulse. This means the aurora was responding to an external driver, to a pattern, to a signal, to a frequency. Nature does not synchronize global auroras to a perfectly timed, mathematically smooth oscillation. But a magnetic transmitter could. A device designed to interact with planetary fields could. A probe scanning a world could. The governments step in. Within hours, something else happened. Something the public didn't notice. But insiders immediately recognized. The U.S. Space Force shifted one of its classified tracking satellites from the Chinese theater to deep space monitoring. This satellite tracks potential threats, not asteroids, not comets. Threats, signals, probes, unknown objects. Reallocating it means one thing. The U.S. government no longer views Atlas as scientific interest. It views it as a potential intelligence. Meanwhile, China's fast telescope began 24/7 monitoring. India redirected the Astrosat Ultraviolet Observatory. Japan increased monitoring from its magnetospheric satellite arrays. The European Space Agency activated emergency data channels. This level of coordination never happens unless something unprecedented is unfolding. Not a meteor, not a solar storm, not a comet. Something else. Something they don't yet understand. Something that scares them. The Atlas flicker. 48 hours after the magnetic twist, something even more bizarre happened. Astronomers in Chile noticed a rhythmic flicker in Atlas's brightness. Not the chaotic sparkling of dust, but a precise binary flicker. On, off, on, off. A pattern so exact, so controlled, that it immediately triggered a protocol. Search for structured signals. Harvard's breakthrough Listen joined in. They aimed their radio dishes at Atlas, looking for narrowband transmissions, the hallmark of intelligent engineering. At first, nothing. Then a whisper, a narrow spike, thin, sharp, repeating every 41 minutes and 12 seconds. The exact period of the earlier magnetic pulse. Coincidence? Not chance. This was the first moment several scientists broke protocol and said privately, "We are observing communication. Short, faint, minimal, but deliberate. Not targeted at Earth. Not a message for humans. Just a system handshake. A ping. A check-in. With what? We do not know. But if you listen to the data closely, you can almost hear it. Atlas, signal sent. Response, received. Operation continues. The blue trail. As Atlas moved farther from the sun, something unexpected happened. It got brighter. This breaks every rule of comet physics. Objects moving away from solar radiation fade. Shrink, cool. But Atlas grew. A faint, thin, electric blue trail. Not like a comet tail. Not dust. Not gas. It looked like ionized plasma. And plasma requires energy. controlled energy, guided energy, as if Atlas was not drifting, but steering, as if it was using the sun as a power source, charging itself, and then releasing energy in a directed stream. A propulsion system? A cooling system? A communication beam? No one knows. But the trail was too thin, too straight, too stable, to be natural. It looked engineered, aligned, purposeful, and every instrument that measured it recorded the same strange pattern. The plasma trail pulsed, in perfect synchrony, with a magnetic hum, fell on Earth days earlier. This means one chilling thing. Atlas did not just affect Earth's field. It recorded the response and reacted. The second twist. When Earth rotates, its magnetic field spins smoothly with it, like a gyroscope. But during a routine check, the Canadian Space Weather Center noticed something alarming. A second twist, not as large as the first, not as violent, but real and aligned in the same direction as the plasma pulses emitted by Atlas. Not the sun, not cosmic rays, not internal Earth physics. The twist corresponded exactly to Atlas's rotation period. Earth was not affected. Earth was responding, like two tuning forks resonating, like two systems syncing, like two entities communicating, in a language older than biology. The language theory, 3 astrophysicists, 1 American, 1 Japanese, 1 Italian, published anonymous comments on a private forum used by high-level researchers. They described a chilling, elegant theory. Magnetism is the oldest communication method in the universe. Here is the idea. Planets have magnetic fields. Stars have magnetic cycles. Black holes emit magnetic jets. Nebulae form magnetic filaments. Interstellar space is shaped by magnetic waves. If you wanted to build a galactic communication system that lasts millions of years, unaffected by dust, silence, or time, you would use magnetism, not light, not radio, not sound, because magnetic fields exist everywhere. Every planet is a node. Every star is a carrier. Every object with metal or plasma can read it. Atlas, then, may be a node in this system, a messenger, a probe, a scanner, a relay, and Earth just became part of the network. The data they can't explain. Atlas's rotation is now so stable that it resembles a gyroscope. Its thermal signature remains inconsistent with any naturally occurring material. Its plasma trail pulses in perfect timing with the magnetic anomaly felt on Earth. Its flicker matches artificial modulation patterns. Its approach has triggered unprecedented government reactions. All evidence points in one direction. Atlas is not a rock. Atlas is not a comet. Atlas is not an accident of nature. Atlas is technology. But the biggest question remains. Technology from where? And the even bigger question. Technology for what? The silence before December. Right now, Atlas is approaching its closest point to Earth. Not dangerously close. Not near collision. But close enough for direct, high-resolution scans. The James Webb Space Telescope and the Hubble Space Telescope are both scheduled to point at it during a coordinated observational window. This has never happened for a comet. Never. This is unprecedented. But here's the disturbing part. Since the second magnetic twist, Atlas has gone quiet. The hum stopped. The flicker stabilized. The plasma pulses faded. It is as if whatever cycle it was running has been completed, as if the scanning sequence ended. And now Atlas is coasting silently toward its final observing position, waiting, watching, holding whatever data it pulled from Earth's field. And the only question now is, what will it do with that data? Right now, right this second, Atlas is entering the final leg of its trajectory. Its speed is increasing in a way that violates natural orbital mechanics. Not dramatically, not chaotically, but smoothly, deliberately, like a vehicle adjusting its glide path. NASA calls it Trajectory Anomaly 12. But everyone inside knows the truth. Atlas is steering, whether by plasma jets, magnetic sails, or some unknown propulsion. The object is no longer drifting passively through our solar system. It is navigating. And the question no one wants to say out loud is, What destination is it navigating toward? Not Earth. It won't collide. It won't land. But its closest approach, its flyby window, is perfectly aligned with Earth's magnetic equator. That alignment is too precise to be an accident. It is as if Atlas wants the strongest possible reading of Earth's magnetic field, its resonance, its oscillations, its internal structure, a full scan, a magnetic MRI of the entire planet. And that brings us to the moment everyone has been waiting for and dreading, the silent grid. For days before closest approach, radio telescopes across the world picked up something extraordinary. Not a pulse, not a beacon, not a message, but a grid, a faint, three-dimensional lattice of magnetic interference patterns surrounding Atlas, like a cocoon, like a shield, like an active scanning array. Natural objects do not generate magnetic grids, but devices do. Machines do. Scanning systems do. This grid grew in complexity as Atlas neared Earth, forming shapes, patterns, structures that almost resembled a geometric language. One astrophysicist put it best. It looks like Atlas is thinking, a terrifying idea, because thinking implies purpose. Purpose implies intention. Intention implies intelligence. The first clear image, the first high-resolution composite from the James Webb Telescope, was not released to the public. Not yet, but a leaked description reached the scientific underground. Atlas is elongated, not spherical. Its surface is faceted, angular, almost tiled. There are repeating, symmetrical patterns. A central ridge emits faint infrared pulses. The blue glow comes from structured plasma vents. The person who leaked the description said quietly, "It's not a comet. It's a manufactured object." If even half of that description is accurate, the debate is over. Atlas is not geological. Atlas is technological. Atlas is engineered. And that changes everything. The data wall. NASA, ESA, JAXA, and CNSA have all hit the same problem. The closer Atlas gets, the harder it becomes to measure. Not because it is faint, but because it is overloading instruments. Telescopes report perfect reflection at certain wavelengths, total absorption at others, magnetic echoes that appear delayed, almost like signatures in reverse, plasma readings that break known thermal models, interference that looks suspiciously like encryption. It is almost as if Atlas is defending itself, or hiding itself, or preparing for something, a firewall, a data wall, an informational shield, like a device limiting the amount of data it reveals. As observers get too close, the whisper in the static. Just 19 hours before closest approach, radio telescopes picked up a faint signal, so faint that most software dismissed it as noise. But one researcher at the Very Large Array noticed something unusual. The noise repeated, not perfectly, but statistically far beyond randomness. A pattern, a whisper in the static. 3 repeating values, 3 spikes, 3 intervals, always 3, 3 pulses, 3 delays, 3 harmonics, 3, the same number encoded into its official designation. 3, I/Atlas. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe Atlas is not a name humans gave it. Maybe it is a name it gave itself. A numeric identifier, a frequency signature, a label in a system far older than us. The moment of closest approach. Now we arrive at the event. That changed everything. The moment Atlas reached its flyby point, barely 39 cent from Earth, every magnetometer on the planet registered a pulse. A single pulse. Not violent, not destructive, not harmful, just a touch, like a finger brushing the surface of a drum. This time, the pulse was not chaotic. It was structured. Its waveform carried harmonics, ratios, symmetrical frequencies, numbers, a pattern that looked unmistakably like intentional encoding. And every scientist who studied it came to the same terrifying conclusion. It didn't scan us. It sampled us, as if testing Earth's magnetic signature, its stability, its resonance, its anomalies, its biological noise, its technological output, collecting data, saving data, storing data, and then silence. Atlas continued on its trajectory, as if nothing happened. No more pulses, no more flickers, no more hums. It completed whatever operation it came here to perform. And now it is leaving. What did Atlas learn? This is the question. No scientist wants to answer publicly. But behind closed doors, the speculation is intense. 1. Did it detect life? Almost certainly. Life generates magnetic noise, especially intelligent life. 2. Did it detect technology? Absolutely. Our satellites, our networks, our power grid all emit magnetic signatures. 3. Did it evaluate Earth? Very likely. The pulse looked like a diagnostic. 4. Did it send a reply? A faint magnetic ripple was detected, leaving Earth's magnetosphere and traveling outward. This was not from the Sun, not from Earth, not from cosmic rays. It was a reflected response, triggered by Atlas's pulse. A confirmation, a timestamp, a data packet, sent back to wherever Atlas originated. What happens next? Right now, Atlas is drifting away, its blue glow fading, its rotation stabilizing, its magnetic signature growing faint. But the world it scanned, our world, will never be the same, because for the first time in history, an interstellar object changed Earth's magnetic field. Planetary navigation systems malfunctioned. A global aurora appeared at the equator. Radio telescopes detected structured pulses. The James Webb Telescope saw geometry and symmetry in a comet. Earth responded to an external magnetic probe. Data was transmitted outward after the event. This is not a comet. This is not a rock. This is not an accident. Atlas is a messenger, a recorder, a silent observer. In a network we do not yet have the tools to understand, and it has now added Earth to whatever archive it carries. The final question. Humanity now faces a question so large that it dwarfs politics, war, religion, and culture. Who is Atlas sending our data to? A dying civilization? A machine intelligence? A network of probes? A galactic archive? Something that is no longer alive, but still listening? Or something alive and watching? We don't know. We may not know for decades. But one thing is certain. As Atlas fades into the darkness beyond Mars, beyond Jupiter, beyond the edge of our telescopes, it leaves behind not just scientific mysteries, but a message. You are not alone. You have never been alone. You are simply too primitive to notice. Until now.